my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have if you are new to romances, this is where you can start. So I actually had a fun time putting together a bunch of these books because I wanted to choose some standalones. I wanted to choose some like spicy books and not so spicy books. I wanted a mix of everything. If you were to come to me as a brand new romance reader, I would hand you this stack of books and be like, have fun, here you go. I'm very excited to talk about these books, and before we dive into the video, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Avery Maxwell. So Avery Maxwell has a brand new book out. It's called Love Notes and Lifelines, which was a tongue twister for me. This is the first book in the Single Dad Hotline series. So basically our female character has one job: answer the phone and solve whatever problem is on the phone. That is her one job. Now, she wasn't expecting her boss's boss to call and ask for help, okay? Now, in the boardroom, he's like super detached from everyone at work, but he's actually our female character's first kiss, and she has kept that memory and held on to that. Now, basically, when he calls, she offers him a little off the books help, if that makes sense. Like, hey, you need help, I'll come to you and help. Just here's my number type of a thing. Here's my personal number. And so she really can't help it because her mom's illness is getting worse and worse, and she's trying to figure out things with that. So it's like a perfect distraction for her. Now, obviously, when she offered her help, she was not expecting to fall in love with him, but if you are looking for a super sweet, I think this would be perfect for the summer romance. Love Notes and Lifelines is now available in Kindle Unlimited, on audio, or you can grab the paperback. I will have the link in the description box below, but thank you so much to Avery Maxwell for sponsoring this video. Now let's dive into the first book, because I'm actually really excited to chat about these, because all of these I've actually really loved. Now, the first book I have is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. So this is a sapphic romance where our two characters they go on this journey together. I read this book and I was honestly blown away by how she wrote it, because it has a little bit of a mystery to it. It has like healing. It has these two characters going on this journey, and they're really trying to like literally figure life out, right? Now, I connected so much with this character. One of our female characters, she is from Belchase, Louisiana, which is a tiny town in Louisiana that no one knows unless you have lived there. And I grew up there, which is really cool because I never get to see that in a romance novel. So obviously I have a little bit more like connection to her, but she moves to New York City. She travels her way to New York City. She gets there, and on the train she meets our other female character, and she's like, wow, this person just has something about them that like draws me into them. So she's on the same train and the same times whenever she has to get on the train to go to work or go wherever, and it's really interesting, their romance and how it develops. And there was some plot twist in this that I wasn't expecting. This is a little bit more on the clean side. It's still kind of open door, but not as like spicy as maybe some of the other books I'm going to talk about. And I want to put that out there because I know some people are like, is it spicy? Is it not spicy? And a lot of people ask that in comments and my DMs on TikTok all the time. So I'm gonna put that in there, but like this is like one pepper. Casey McQuiston, she writes open door romances, but it's not like super spicy. So if you're looking for a good, especially sapphic one, the romance is absolutely beautiful. Definitely check out One Last Stop. It's one of my favorite sapphic novels of all time. The next one I have is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. So I have read a lot of Kennedy Ryan books, and my first instinct was to recommend Real by Kennedy Ryan. And Real is one of my favorite books by Kennedy Ryan. It's like my top favorite by her, right? But I figured this is one of her newer releases. But Before I Let Go is the perfect line between women's fiction and romance. You get this really heartwarming story of our female character. You see her, Yasmin, she's divorced, and this is a second chance romance where they get divorced and then later in the book they actually get back together. And it's one of those, I found it so perfect because it's one of those books where sometimes you have to work things out and you divorce not because of necessarily everything of the other person that they're doing, but sometimes it's you. Sometimes you've grown and you've moved on and you have, you know, wanted to find yourself again before you fall in love with someone else. And that's exactly what Yasmin does, and I love it. I loved just the story. I loved the talk of therapy in this book. This book is technically open door as well, but it's more on the like less spicier side. I mean, Kennedy Ryan has wrote spicy books, and then she has this series, which I would say is a little less spicy. The second book in this series, This Could Be Us, just came out too. So both of those are really good recommendations if you're new to romance, but I would recommend this one as well just because it's the first in a series and you really get introduced to this really strong core female group in this book, and I love this series because of that. The next one I have is one that I absolutely loved that I read in January, and that is Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. So Laura Pavlov actually got picked up for a huge book deal for 15 books, and 5 of those books is this series. Now this is her new series. It's called the Magnolia Falls series, and this book is an enemies to lovers really like he does not like her because the way that she grew up. He thinks that she's just daddy's spoiled little girl, like she's been given everything her whole life, and she's trying to make it on her own with this coffee shop that's right next door to his gym. Now he's a boxer, hence the boxing gloves. If you guys know and watch my channel, I love boxing and I love MMA. Fighter romances are one of my all-time favorite things to read, but in this book he has to actually go back and compete for one last time. Come fight me, and that's what he does. Now their romance develops so beautifully. I think if you love enemies to lovers, where you don't just like the switch from love, like the switch to lovers, it gradually grows, this book is perfect for that. I'm not a huge enemies to lovers fan. You really have to convince me at the end of the book, and this was a 5-star read for me. This is an open door romance. It's pretty spicy. There are a lot of spicy scenes. I mean, it's not the spiciest thing I've read, but I just want to point it out. It's like 2 peppers, I would say. I would count this. I don't really use that scale, so I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, but I did love this. First, it's a oh my god, the found family in this book is beautiful. You really get to see all the characters in this first book in this series. The second book is already out too, so you can definitely continue, but definitely start here. Love the found family. It's amazing. The next one I have is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. So this book is one of my favorites of 2023. I loved this book. Now this is also another second chance romance where a female and male character really had a really hard breakup. I personally love the way Julie Soto wrote this book because it shows his point of view from the past only and her point of view from the present now. And you see that, you know, she's an event planner or wedding planner. You see that he is trying to keep his family floral shop alive. Basically, his father passed away and left him the flower shop, so now he's still trying to, like, you know, go with that and do all this. And when they're forced to work on the like biggest wedding that she's ever had together, I personally really love this book just because of how she told that story of the past to present, the different points of view, their different points of view and what times you get it at, and it really shows how, you know, your own personal beliefs and personal traumas that you've had and other past experiences really come into play in a relationship, and you really struggle with that of like, do I go for it? And some people get scared and all. I don't know. It was just a beautiful romance that I loved reading about, so I would highly suggest starting here. If you are new to romance, this is also an open door, but it's definitely more of a slow burn because it's second chance. There's not that many spicy scenes. I would say like one pepper probably. Another book that I wanted to mention is The Brightest Light of Sunshine by Lucina Connie. So I recently read this book and I fell in love with the story and I fell in love with the writing. Now this is an age gap, pretty decent age gap. I think it's like 11 years, if I'm not mistaken, 9. It's up there near 10 or something like that. And our female character, she is actually, I would say it's not like a brother's best friend, but the brother's her cousin. She's very close to her cousin. She doesn't have siblings, and her cousin is like her brother, and his really good friend is a tattoo artist. He owns this tattoo shop, and you see that he's also taking care of his little sister who's 4 years old. He is like 30 something and his sister's 4. His mom had him at a really young age, and then later in life had his sister. Now her actual dad, they have different dads. Her dad is not a good person, like doesn't want anything to do with her, and then the mom kind of just doesn't really pay attention to anything that she does, so he's basically taking on this parent role even though he's her brother. Now when they meet, it's because our female character in this book is actually the ballet teacher for his sister. So when he picks her up one day from ballet class, he sees her again. She does come into the studio at first and is like, hey, I want a tattoo, and she kind of chickens out and runs out. Now I think they have a beautiful story because it's one of those things where the conflict is not something of them, it's he doesn't want to put that pressure on her because he's gonna have this child in his life for the whole, like, he has to take over guardianship for her. So it's one of those things where it's like they're trying to have this start of a relationship, but he has his little sister who's 4 years old that he has to like bring into his life and take care of, and he doesn't want to put that pressure on anyone else. So I love this one. I love the writing. I love the journey. It's a lot of healing. It's beautiful. I love the cover. It's very different, but if you're looking for something contemporary romance that just is a little different, check this out. This is Strangers to Friends to Lovers, and Friends to Lovers was one of my favorites, so I wanted to mix up a lot of different tropes like friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, second chance, all of that stuff in this video. So this is the friends to lovers that I picked, and I'm very excited. If you pick this up, let me know because I love this one. The last book I had to talk about is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. So this actually just got picked up by Atria. So this is the indie cover that has a new cover. It's very similar to this, but this is a hockey romance, and I did want to put in a different kind of sport. I do have like, you know, MMA or whatever, boxing in here, but I wanted to put in hockey. One, because hockey is so huge right now in the book community. This is another open door romance, and I will say that this has a lot of triggers, talks with PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, and stuff like that, and I always love that in a romance book. I love that representation. Mental health is so important. So many of us actually deal with some type of mental health issue, mental health disorder, anxiety, depression, PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, or any of those. So I always love that that representation is actually in a romance book, because I just feel like it makes it feel more real. Now, our main male character in here, you see that he has taken a really hard hit on the ice. He lost consciousness for a little while, he lost hearing, and he lost his vision for a second. And now the new season is back, and he's trying to get back on the ice. It's 6 months later, and he has major PTSD, and he has hard, like, major panic attacks when he gets on the ice, and that's actually how he meets our female character. She's a figure skater, so she goes to the rink for their college really early, like 5 a.m., and she goes to get some ice time in, and she sees him, like, struggling, like, sitting down on the ice in the corner, can't breathe, anything like that, and she's like, oh my god, I don't have time for this. Now, you see that her home life is not that great. She's actually responsible for her 2 younger brothers. Her mom is not around, and her dad is, like, an alcoholic and stuff like that, and he doesn't really help at all. So not only is she trying to work full-time, try to go to college, try to keep her figure skating career up, and take care of these 2 kids, and, like, make sure that they're getting everything they need. So, like, he really is not what she needs right now, but they have this really, like, he leans on her to try and, like, it's like a safe person, you know what I mean? And she becomes his safe person. And I found that really interesting, because there's a point in the book where a lot of people may be like, oh, he only loves her because that's her safe person, he's, like, dependent on her. But there is a moment where he's like, oh, I have to take a step back and really, like, assess what she means to me. Like, why do I feel this way about her? Is it because she, like, saved me? Is it a savior complex? Or do I really have feelings for her? And that's a pivotal point for him in this book. But I love this book. It was one of my favorite books of last year. So I would highly recommend this one if you want a hockey romance with a lot of emotion. It'll bring out a lot of emotions. Just check the triggers. Just for all of those things that I mentioned, just go into it and make sure it's a safe place for you. And this book is going to be a safe book for you. So I always like to say that. But those are all the books that I have for if you are new to romance. Check them out. I may do this in a couple of months. I read a lot of books, and that kind of changes. But if I were to, like, hand you a stack right now, I'd hand you these books out of all of the books on my shelf. So once again, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Avery Maxwell. Make sure you check out Love Notes and Lifelines. I will have the link in the description box below for you. You can get it on ebook, audio, or paperback, however you read. But once again, thank you to Avery Maxwell for sponsoring this video. For the emoji, because it is about to be summer, drop me the sunshine emoji, like the sun emoji, in the comments down below if you've made it this far. Let me know one book you would recommend to someone who is brand new to romance in the comments down below as well. I would love to know what you would recommend them. But that is all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.